come here, are you on the team that thinks Heloise really ended up dying on the day of the massacre in the town of From and everyone got wiped out except for Victor? Or are you, like me, still persistently thinking that there's a genuine chance we'll actually see Heloise in the very next season, perhaps even still alive, that somehow, against all odds, she might have miraculously escaped? And I really think that makes more sense than her having died after all in one of the last episodes of the 3rd season. During Harry's conversation with Victor up by Miranda's grave, he ends up deciding to talk about what happened that day and says that he found Miranda's body. However, in Heloise's case, he only found the remains of a child without identifying who it was or whether it really was Heloise or not. And I have a theory. I actually think Heloise is alive, and I'm going to talk about it with you in this video. But for that, I'll need to explain some other theories so you can understand a bit more. After all, whenever I talk about reincarnation here on the channel, a lot of people get confused and say there's no way he can be alive or that person can be alive if the other one is also alive. So I'm going to explain it a bit better so you can understand. After all, this topic of reincarnation and time travel really messes with our heads, and I'm going to try to explain it to you point by point. So stick with me until the end of the video, because today is another day for us to talk about From theories. As you know, Wednesday is our day to theorize, to think outside the box a little, and to let our imaginations run wild with our From theories. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Hey my friends, welcome back to another video here on your favorite pop culture channel, where we're going to talk about From once again. I'm Jeff, and from now on we're going to dive into the topic of Heloise, guys. But before we start, I want to ask you to please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because as you know, our community here is growing, especially when it comes to From. We're one of the biggest channels talking about From here. Even though it's a small community, we still have a pretty big group and a lot of people who always follow the videos here. And also, if you're new here and you like From, subscribe. I'm bringing other series to the channel as well, and I'm counting on you. And to those of you who helped me out with the fundraiser over these past weeks, I want to thank you so much. This week, my dog is going to have surgery, thanks to you. And honestly, you guys are amazing. I'm really grateful. I haven't closed the fundraiser yet. On Friday, I'm going to withdraw the full amount. If you want to help, I'll leave the link here in the description. So without further ado, let's talk about our amazing series From, shall we? So guys, like I've been telling you, I have a theory that I've been talking about since the end of the 3rd season about Victor's sister, Heloise, right? About her being alive. But to get to that point, I need to explain a bit more about the past and reincarnation, because let's go. To me, what happened there is that, yes, Heloise could be alive and she must be a story walker, just like Julie, okay? Before you come here to judge and criticize me, already starting to type in the comments, but Jeff, it doesn't make sense for her to be alive if Julie is alive. But let's go. I'm going to talk to you about a few points here because, as you already know, the town of From itself lives in cycles. This has been shown to us since the very beginning, like when we saw the people who ended up sacrificing the children and turned into monsters. Who were the original residents of the town and what were they? A person who was the leader of the community, who in that case might have been the sheriff, and who is currently represented by Boyd. We have a doctor, as I've already told you several times, who is now represented by Christy. Maybe Mariel doesn't represent anything for now, but we'll eventually get to an important point there. I even have a more specific video to talk about her, among other characters who are just replacements for the monsters, right? Who, let's say, were the original residents. Now, as for why the town has to keep people inside, we don't know, right? Because after all, when they're no longer needed, we already know that the town ends up resetting and bringing the residents back. Now let's talk about the reincarnations. The only people we know so far who are actual reincarnations within the town of From, at least as has been confirmed to us, are Tabitha and Jade. After all, both of them are reincarnations of the first parents who escaped, right? The ones who didn't take part in the ritual. They tried to save the children there, but ended up failing and fleeing. I even theorized that in the painting, where we see that whole circle of people around the sacrifice and a boat with other people, it could actually be the original residents, who were Tabitha and Jade. In this case, we'll probably get to know them better when the story returns to the past of the town of From. However, before them, we also had Miranda and Christopher, who were also soul reincarnations of those residents who came before Tabitha and Jade. And as you know, Miranda also came there with her family, except for Harry. At least as far as we know, Harry didn't actually take part in From during Miranda's time. And now Tabitha also ended up arriving with her family, which in this case is 2 children and her husband. And in Miranda's case, it was also 2 children and Harry, who stayed outside of From in Derry, as we saw there. However, if you stop to think about it, the case of Victor's and Ethan's children being so similar to each other really supports the theory that maybe it's not reincarnation in this case, right? It's the case of reincarnation where Tabitha forms a family on the outside and always ends up forming within their family unit and bringing to the town the same number of people, of children, and with the same purpose, like with Victor and Ethan, who they always seem to be connected to the town in some way, seeing the boy in white and always involved with these drawings, theorizing, as I mentioned to you, as if they really were part of the town, as if their drawings wrote the story of From. And in the case of Julie and Heloise, as I mentioned to you, it could be that both of them are some kind of story walker because, as was revealed to us in the last episode of the 3rd season, Julie is a story walker. So it could be that in Heloise's case, somehow she also ended up becoming a story walker. It's worth reminding you that the day the massacre happened inside the city of From was the day Christopher freaked out after discovering the whole truth about From's story. And after that, everyone ended up dying. And Miranda ended up going out at night, leaving both Victor and Heloise inside that attic, right in the bunker where we know there's also a skeleton where Fatima was trapped. And we also know it's connected to the caves through the basement door that leads to the cave where the ritual took place. The one where the smiling monster was reborn, man. So on that day, it was explained to us that Heloise also ended up leaving, but she wasn't found. Only mortal remains were found. Only the mortal remains of some child were found, as Victor himself left it vague for us to theorize about. Because as I have already told you, From never leaves loose ends in the story. They always mention something, like the case of the hotel or motel, which will definitely show up in the 4th season. I even explained to you about the behind the scenes photos and the new sets that are showing up, and I really think that somehow Heloise managed to escape from the bunker to go after Miranda, and somehow a monster might have chased her, and she ended up accessing the dungeons the same way Julie did in the middle of the forest. I don't know if you remember, but she just crossed over and ended up coming out in that place. And then somehow she might have ended up getting lost there. I know that when Julie accessed it, her body ended up staying behind while her soul or her mind went there. But it's worth remembering that the Julie from the future physically accessed the place where Jim was killed by the man in yellow, so in some way we can try to theorize or understand that if they have some control there, they can indeed access the body. This is also evident because Julie was even able to interact by throwing the rope to Boyd himself, who was down in the well. Are you guys following what I'm saying? Actually, the reincarnations aren't the children, but rather just Tabitha's soul and Jake's soul, which meet each time inside From. However, everything that comes with them is their own doing, even though they have the children there and maybe with the same goals, like in the case of Heloise and Julie, who are similar, and also Ethan and Victor himself. It's undeniable that they're very much alike. And one of the things that further strengthens this theory is that if you remember around episode 8 or 9 of the 3rd season, there's a scene where Jim ends up talking to Harry after he fights with Jake, loses it, loses his temper. Jim and Harry are talking at the bar, having their drinks, and they end up saying that both of their fathers were alcoholics. So everything points to the idea that really every time Miranda and Tabitha's incarnations meet, it's always with someone who has the same profile as Jim and Harry, and they have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and then it all happens again. I know you guys are going to say, but what about Thomas, right? Well, so with Thomas, we still don't have much to say. I have a theory that could make a lot of sense with the story of From. I think it's a really strong theory about Julie and Thomas, but I'll end up bringing that to you in another more specific video, but calmly so we can talk about it. But it's worth trying to theorize here. It could also be that at some point before Miranda herself ended up going to From, she lost a child, and maybe that's even why they ended up going there to use acid for the last time under the tree, like they said, before all the visions with the town started and they ended up entering the town, just like what happened with Miranda herself and the children she brought. Anyway, what I'm trying to say to you is that it really could be that Heloise is still alive and she'll end up appearing in the 4th season, and more than that, she might be the one who was living in the village, as we saw, right? There were the totems that were protecting the village from something, but when Jake ended up breaking one, he might have broken the protection, and the person who lived there and walked around at night started seeking refuge somewhere else. And this person, as I mentioned back when From was being released, could really be Heloise. She might be the one who taught Julie how to control her power, to manipulate time, to travel to specific moments in history. And as we already know, in the Lighthouse Tower there are several dates written down, along with some toys and other things, as if someone had accessed that place many times. times. But it's worth remembering that just because there are a lot of dates there, it doesn't necessarily mean they're all reincarnations who wrote them down. It could be one person who accessed all those points in history and wrote them down so they wouldn't get lost, because these could be events that will end up helping and adding to the story of From. For example, the year 1500, which might be when the so-called captain arrived. As the rumors go, either the captain or the sailor who ended up coming to From and started the whole ritual, influencing everyone and talking about eternal life. Because as I told you, From ended up dealing with the theme of time travel and also reincarnations, which are very sensitive topics for us to try to explore in a simple way because it's complex when we talk about time travel. I honestly believe that Heloise could actually be like Julie. Not a reincarnation, but rather like Julie, with the same role as Julie, being the daughter of the primary incarnation of From. Maybe she has a bigger purpose and the two of them will end up meeting there and we'll end up seeing how this story unfolds. It could be that she's already an adult there like Victor, and she might even die maybe in this 4th season to have a bigger impact for Victor, you know, to help him unlock some of his memories. In fact, I have a really good theory about Victor, why he stayed alive for so many years in the town of From and how he survived without the monsters catching him, even without talismans. Man, this theory is hot and I'll bring it to you guys in a video, so stay tuned to the channel. Like I said, I'm planning to start streaming over on Twitch so we can chat and watch all the seasons of From, all the episodes, because I'm bringing you guys a lot of content. And as I mentioned before the 4th season, I want to bring a big recap of the 3 seasons, each video covering a full season, about an hour each, very complete and rich in details and theories for those of you who enjoy the From series. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it because, like I said, when it comes to From, we have a lot of theories and I have a lot of cool videos to bring you here. So if you like this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and don't forget to turn on notifications if you're new around here. It really helps me out if you hit the like button. And also, if you want to become a member for just $4.99, you'll be supporting me. And I'm already preparing exclusive content for you guys. Oh, I just noticed the guitar is here too. I was looking at the set. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot, big hug. Check under your bed, watch out for the monsters because it's already night as I'm recording this video. See you!